Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Oonagh Taeger. I'm a homeopath, and I help sensitives. I want to just present my work in a way that I haven't really done exactly before. I'm here to help people who have come to help raise the vibration of the planet and who have gotten bogged down in the density of this planet, because many of you are not really used to this kind of density. And so that can look like working with the immune system problems, with neurological stuff like ADD or autism spectrum, and also with emotional pain and anxiety. I also am a homeoprophylaxis practitioner, because this is about helping our sensitive children who are coming in now to have their highest development possible. Homeoprophylaxis is an alternative to vaccination. I am here with my good friend Sharmila Molly once more. Sharmila is an intuitive healing coach and mentor. She helps people who are called to be healers to find their unique healing gifts. She's a Reiki master and teacher, an empath, and Akashic Records reader. And the Akashic Records is what we're going to talk about today. I've had a reading before with you, Sharmila, and I know how talented you are. I was really impressed, and I think that what stood out for me is how you really went to, and maybe this is the nature of the Akashic Records. This was the first time I experienced that type of reading, but the way you really went to the highest perspective of divine love. So I found that more deeply helpful than going to not a less high dimension. Like, I think you were channeling information from a very high dimension. Is that typical? Is that the idea with the Akashic Records?
Yes, to answer your question. Yes. I just want to thank you for the compliment. I was just squirming a little. I'm like, okay, let me receive the compliment. But thank you for that. And yes, the Akashic Records is your soul's perspective, the infinite part of you, from the infinite place.
Nice.
From that perspective, and I'm holding it here because that's how I don't know. That's kind of how I see it. But I guess it's kind of in here, right? From that deep, infinite soul's perspective. So
beautiful.
Yeah, that's where that's what I'm accessing. That's what I was taught to access.
Nice. So we talked a little about what we're going to do here today, and we want to do a little demoing mixed in with talking about the Akashic. So there's so much that I could ask about, what is it? And some of that might be kind of theoretical, because I think there's different ways of looking at it. And you've already just said maybe enough about what it is to get us going. But so we decided to focus in on one question, because I have a feeling a lot is going to come out of that question. When I was thinking about, okay, what would I want to ask that would be okay to demo live, and what do I really want to ask from the Akashic? A question came up in my mind, which is, well, do I really want to ask stuff about the future? Because that's kind of what came up, a question about where I might end up living. That's a big thing I've been wondering about. And then I thought, what is it useful to go and read stuff about the future? Does that tend to influence us to be less open to the possibilities that we're creating moment by moment with all the choices that we make. And so you had this wonderful idea that I could ask a question and that you would answer it from your understanding, but then we would also go into the Akashic and ask the question. And I think that's an amazing idea. So that is basically, that's my question in a nutshell. Well, actually coming out of that question is, so what is the best use of the Akashic Records? What is for our expansion, for our, you know, really to really help us align with our own soul, with our own soul expansion. Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that question, because I have found personally that asking questions about, am I going to meet the right person? Is this person right? You know, kind of, it steers it's a very limiting question. And on top of that, it's such an indefinable thing to predict, and predictions are just superfluous. You know, it can be, you know, you can get a reading and someone might tell you it's A, and you really look forward to that and expect it, and then A doesn't happen, but something else happens unexpectedly, and you're like, oh, well, that, you know, it just sort of sets up a expectation that can be really disheartening. And I think a better question to ask is, what can you do to maybe attain something that you are seeking, you know, an answer about in the future, or something about, well, how can I make this happen for myself? Instead of like, well, is this going to happen? You know, when am I going to sell the house? When am I going to, you know, get promoted? You know, am I going to, you know, it's those exact times, because, you know, life is filled with many different things. You have lots of choices, and we won't even go into free will. So that's just a potential. So I feel like, you know, it's not really a prediction that you're getting a potential. And I always preface that, like, this is a potential, like whether it's a reading or someone coming in for a session, a healing session, and things that come up that are said. I was like, this is a potential. And if that's something you want to create, let's figure out the steps to help you get to that point. Yeah. To help create it, if that's the potential you want. Because there's always like, no, you're not going to meet the love of your life in the next 6 weeks or this year. Yeah. So what do you do with that? That just sort of, the bricks just crumble down on you, and and it can be, yeah, I think to make a reading more effective, in any reading, not just an Akashic Records reading, to have it be more effective and more helpful to you, is to, like, you know, ask for specific steps. Right. You know, be a little bit more open-ended in your question, so that you get information that can be really helpful to you. Okay. Does that make? So, time out. I'm going to blow my nose and edit out the nose blow afterwards. My doctor's going to feel better. Okay, so I really like that you answered it from your perspective, because now we kind of have this, we get this cool opportunity to contrast how what the Akashic has to say could be different from you, even though you're the filter. So like, so I want to differentiate. So I'm going to go into my Akashic Records. Okay. My soul's perspective, and answer that question. Okay. And, you know, we can do it. And then, I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see what they have to say. And I always use that in the third person, because that's just how I do it. So I have a quick question. Yeah. What do you mean your records, my records? We've got different records. I thought there was one big Akashic. Well, you can ask. It's because it's your own personal, I guess, attachment to the infinite that is your soul print. So that becomes Oonagh.
Okay.
In this
Got it.
three-dimensional. So that's what, so, you know, when I'm opening somebody's records, I'm opening their records. I'm not going into my records. It's like, yeah, ask me questions from my soul's perspective. Like that's not, that's that history, your energy, you know, our energies are all, we're all one, but we all have a unique imprint.
Well, can we do something? Can we compare and contrast your soul, your Akashic soul perspective, and then mine?
Yeah.
So we can see, like, what's the difference? That
Oh,
would be
you
cool.
mean, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
like the same
absolutely.
question in each record, in your record, then in my record. Let's do it.
Yeah, I've never done that before. That'd be awesome.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so so we've answered that. So I do a process. I don't know if you want to cut this out, but so the process for me accessing the records is I do a little meditation and I do an invocation. Okay. The records are open. So the question we want to ask is what?
We want to ask, what is the best use? What are the best questions to ask the Akashic Record to assist aligning with our soul expansion?
So I just saw a flock of birds physically in the distance fly away. And so what I'm getting, what they're telling me is that it's about flight. It's about getting a different perspective and being able to have that uplift you in a way and take you to a different place of where you thought you could be, of who you think you are, what you think you can do, and being able to use the birds as a perfect metaphor, fly, spread your wings and fly, and take it and get a different perspective about things, because things look different from up there, from a higher perspective, and to expand your sight, expand your perspective, expand your understanding of the way the world works, the way energy works, the way you work as a body, as a human on the planet.
Wow, I like that. That makes so much sense to me. Because shifting perspective just can take us right back, you know, it aligns us with our power. It aligns us with possibility. So what we're doing is we're opening to possibility instead of kind of, you know, fortune telling and trying to fix, okay, this is happen. Like I'm fixed on this. No, it's about bigger perspective than we currently have.
Yes, and it's interesting too. They want me to point out to us that just by even opening the records, which is an important point too, how it shifts the energy, and just by me reciting what I'm getting from the Akashic Records to you, how you shifted and how you expanded, and how the question was the answer was so different from Sharmila. That's how they're talking. So from Sharmila's perspective, how that's so different, and that's her perspective, but also you know, that is also valid, but also taking in this other perspective and just noticing how when you're getting an Akashic Record reading, and this is something that Sharmila didn't really understand until she got readings, got herself received a reading and started learning the process of opening the records, is how it does shift the energy and how it expanded your energy and your awareness just by saying those words and showing you like, oh, here's what's behind door number 3, and how you're just, yeah, see, like your energy totally is different. So when you go back and watch this video, you can see the difference, how you're just like, I mean, and me as Sharmila, I can see how it's shifted, and I think it's so amazing. And it sounds, you know, it can kind of be schizophrenic sounding, like, oh, they say this, and then I'm speaking as the Akashic Records, and then like, but it is a different voice that I'm hearing.
I'm really okay with that. You're
Yeah,
translating.
Yeah, exactly. Transmitting. So, but I just being able to say that to an audience as well, like, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our audience is going to understand that and be cool with it.
So
that is beautiful. Totally, it rings so true, and I could feel both of our energies. I totally get that our energies expanded as we did this, and you know, it lit us up.
Yeah. And to ask, I want to ask a question in my records about asking future questions. So what was the question that you first asked me about?
Was about sort of what's going to happen in the future, things that you're uncertain about in the future.
Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So what does the Akashic Records have to say about questions that ask for predictions? So they're like, "Ooh, this is a good one. Thank you for asking." So they're going to say, naturally, anybody will ask what they really want to ask. And sometimes asking that question of a definite, is this going to happen? Yes or no? I need to know. Can shift the energy enough that we can give an answer and also expand upon that answer and give factors. And, you know, obviously this is a question that's not pertaining to a particular person's soul perspective, their infinite part of themselves. But what we as the collective Akashic Records, I'm like, wow, do you have to be so dramatic?
Do it.
Yes, we do have to be dramatic. Whatever you want to, if you want to use that word, they're saying. But it can create a drama for somebody, especially if it's a no, because if they're really hoping and they're hinging on your every word, and well, here is a perspective why that's a no. And giving an expanded answer and being able to give a different perspective of how or why that's not a possibility at this point in time. And that's what we have told people. We want to say humans, we're going to say humans. That's what we've told humans through Sharmila's teacher, and specifically through Sharmila's teacher, about asking about predictions in their records, that it's so much more than beyond a prediction. And the only thing that is predictable is to expect the unexpected.
I like that.
To use that term. And that again, they just want to reiterate that it is absolutely a valid question, and of course, you know, we'll answer it, but also remember again that it's one possibility in the infinite.
I love that.
And and where you are right now as a person, as a human, in this particular time, on this particular day, is going to be different than if you ask that 5 minutes from now, 10 days from now, 10 years from now. So it can send people on a trajectory. And we also would like to emphasize that that trajectory is infinite. So it's all about the potential of things, that what's coming from a reading. And this answer can change as well too.
Okay.
And they're like, it probably will be a little bit different and a little bit similar when we open your records and ask the same question.
I want to know, Sharmila, can you open two windows side by side? You know, like your records, my records.
You know,
Or is that gonna blow your
I haven't done that.
You could ask them.
We could ask them. Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Ask them if it's a good idea or a shitty idea.
Well, there's no shitty ideas. They're saying that at this point in time for Sharmila, it just might be a little bit too much for her to figure out the streams of information.
Gotcha.
It's quite jumbled, but that is something for her to work on. But it's a possibility. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So potential.
Yes. Okay, that's cool. Because I was like, okay, well, I'm willing to do it. But they're saying that that would be something to sort of practice a little bit more, just so that I am used to that energy, and that for right now, that's not something that I need to do.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Do you want to, just thinking about video length, are you ready to shift over to my records and ask the same questions to compare? Okay.
Yep. I will do that. I will close out my records.
I'd be super happy to do more of these where we take like one deep question like that. And yeah.
So I'm gonna close it out. So in love and light, I thank my masters, teachers, and loved ones for their information and guidance. Okay. My records are closed.
All right.
Okay. So we're gonna do yours. The records are open. And I just want to say that as I was doing my meditation before I did the invocation, I could feel on my heart like a really kind of like a shield going up. And I was like, oh, okay, what's that? And I was like, all right, let's just let that. and during the meditation, there's things that I do in the meditation, and one of them is walking along a white light path, and there were animals, and it was like a scene from like Snow White cartoon, like the old Disney version of Snow White cartoon, and there was a little Oonagh there. There was this like little girl there with me, and I was like, oh, hello, okay, very cartoon-like. And then when I imagine the Akashic Records in my meditation, I see it as jumping off into the abyss and floating. and you were there with me. And has been happening a lot. The more readings I do, the more people that I'm giving a reading for, some part of them is there with me. And I'm like, who? Okay, all right, I'm just gonna go with this in my meditation. Let's go. So that's all part of the reading. So I just wanted to give you that.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the heart shield was about. And two things jump into mind, which is one, I've really been working on boundaries, and I don't know if that is related. Maybe, and I don't want to get too personal since this is a demo that's going on YouTube, but and I don't want to bring, you know, loved ones into it or anything. And the other thing is just maybe that sense of what I just said, that I don't want to open everything to the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's some things that should be private. So my intention for this is just share what is really useful to share publicly that everyone can benefit from, and then, you know, save the private stuff for when it's just you and me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're saying whatever you want.
All right. Cool. So
go ahead and ask your question.
Let's go ahead with the question. What are the most helpful questions to ask of the Akashic Records to help us align with our expansion?
They are so funny. Well, they're saying the best questions to ask are the questions from your heart. The questions that are near and dear to your heart, that are pressing, that are absolutely something that you need to, quote unquote, get off your chest. And those questions are just the truth of who you are. And they're saying that we've done readings with Sharmila where people are asking kind of wayward questions or kind of dancing around. And never fear, we're always here to help you say, you know what, that's really not what you want to ask. So why don't you just ask what you really want to ask? And sometimes that is a question about, it can be a yes or no, like, am I going to get this? Am I going to get that? And we will provide that possibility, that potential for you, for that person that we're reading. So that's the best questions are the ones that are the truth of who you are, of who you really are, and what you really want to know.
That's beautiful. That's really helpful, because I can see how, you know, it's not authentic if you don't start from there. And that can be a jumping off point if you trust the Akashic to take it in a highest good direction.
Mm-hmm. And they want to say that with Sharmila and the readings that she's been doing, it's been like a conversation. It's been a conversation of in the reading. It's not just you answer, you ask a question, here's the answer. You ask a question, here's the answer. I know that's traditionally how it is, but it's also a conversation with your soul's infinite perspective, which is always beautiful and loving and compassionate, and giving you that dose of, well, this is what you're asking, so also make sure that you're prepared for the answer.
Yeah. That's cool.
Well,
that's pretty that makes me want to ask a follow-up question, but it's a little more personal. So I'm going to ask this carefully. What and see what they say, and just be open. What is the question that's kind of burning in my heart? That is there a question that is really coming from my heart right now that I want to ask, that I'm going to feel okay with sharing the answer publicly? Like, is there one jumping out that they am I
So,
acknowledging? Yeah.
so I just want to be sure, as me, Sharmila, the body, that you are giving them permission to read you.
Yes, and
Okay.
I am, and will edit if necessary.
Um,
You're amazing. You're so good. Okay, should we come back to the part I'm not gonna edit, and I'm gonna
okay,
explain
sure.
what just happened?
Okay.
Okay. Hi, people, viewers. What you just saw was a big edit that you didn't see because the answer to my question got really personal right away and blew my mind, nailed what's going on with me that I had not mentioned to Sharmila, and a ton of stuff came through. Like this is really deep, totally what I needed for a huge crisis in my life that I had not named to Sharmila. And so I didn't even have to ask. You heard what I asked, and that's what they talked about. So let this be a testament to the power of trusting the Akashic. Oh my God. My mind is blown. I'm kind of emotionally fried because of the work we just did. Do you have anything you want to say, Sharmila? Because I'm kind of done talking right now.
Yeah. So I'm still in your records.
Okay.
So I can close them out.
Yeah, I guess we should close them out.
Okay.
And I can even edit that part out of it.
Yeah. And then I think our master station welcomes for the information guide. The records are closed.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that how I work differently is when you get, readings are usually go and get a reading, and you might go back and get another reading. And I find that it has always been so much more helpful when it's not just about growing a dependency on like, oh, I got to get another reading. I got to get another reading, but taking it from a different perspective. And especially, you had a very intense emotional reading, if I can say that.
Sure.
Experience, not a reading, it was an experience from a question that you ask in your records. And what I would do if you were my client is provide more support. And that's where like the other stuff that I do comes in to help support you energetically, like, so that could be like an energetic clearing, setting some intentions, setting some goals about how, if what my suggestion is to like pick one part of that reading.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I work with people. We pick one part of that reading, and over a period of time, we work on attaining it. Or if it's not something that they don't want to attain, that they want to expand on and move away from and overcome, we work on that. And that's, just by holding somebody accountable, like, okay, well, what did you do this week? A process of guiding them through to help them overcome and achieve something that they really liked about in their Akashic records. And that's where the work that I do, it's not just a reading. I mean, people can just come for just one reading, but there is a process that if you really want to see a transformation happen, it's going to take a period of 3 or 6 months time of working together to create, coming up with a plan to create that I can help you stick with, to help be a guide, be of support, and help you find the best answer for you to, and the best ways for you to achieve what it is that you really liked. That one thing in the Akashic record, you're like, yeah, that's what I want. I want to do that. And
So
I know it's so general, you know, because I'm keeping it private, but let's just say, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it sounds really powerful because it's the implementation of the information step.
Exactly.
Instead of just like having the information and, oh, that was interesting, that was mind-blowing, and then kind of going on your merry way and you sort of forget, to really work it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still, from my reading, I had a reading from my teacher 2 years ago, and I had a reading from one of her students. That's how I found out about her class, the way she works in the Akashic Records. I don't want to say Cheryl Marlene, Akashic Records School. Oh shoot, we'll have to.
That's okay. We'll put it down below in the information.
Who I highly recommend to take classes from, get readings from. It is amazing. But to help somebody achieve something, to achieve that transformation, because that's why you want a reading that there is you can implement one or two things, you know, from that reading. And I always recommend one. You know, there's a book called Focus on the One Thing to help you attain that goal in your reading.
Gotcha.
So if somebody is coming to me and they're saying, yeah, you know, I want to start this business. I don't know how to go about doing it. I want to do it this way. I want to use, you know, aromatherapy and food and combine a cafe, you know, and they get some amazing information and like, oh my God, how do I do that? Well, here's how we would do it. We would, in another session, break it down. Yeah. And it wouldn't be a reading necessarily, but we would break it down of like, okay, here's some steps that you need to take. You need to do some research. You need to come up with a business plan. And then maybe if that's like, oh, it's a little overwhelming, and they start to work on that business plan, and we have these sessions set up so that we can work together and do some energy healing, work around it, getting them to trust their own intuition and trust what's best for them. So it's really I can just offer a lot of support and help you find your way to get to that goal. So clearly,
I'm just so kind of blown away by the power of your work, and I'm recommending you for readings. Well, we'll put information down below about how people can get in touch with you, how people can get in touch with me if they want to look into working with either one of us, and check out the other videos on my channel. Please like and share. Subscribe if you want more good stuff like this. I know that you and I are going to be talking again because I love what comes out of our discussions.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Sharmila. Gosh. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Oonagh. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And it was so much fun to be able to, such a risk for me to like do a reading on video. Like,
oh my gosh, you did an amazing job. I truly wish we didn't have to edit the really powerful part of my reading, but you saw like I think people can feel the kind of energy that so thank you everybody who watched, and I hope you find this helpful. Blessings and love.
Blessings. Bye, Oonagh. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.